Chapter 1. Guatemala City, Guatemala. Amy Cahill put on her sunglasses in preparation for a paparazzi mob scene as the plane landed at La Aurora International Airport. But all looked quiet. Funny, this should have helped Amy relax, but she'd forgotten how to do that. Instead, the nerves in her neck tensed even more. She and the others, her brother, Dan, his friend Atticus, and Atticus's older brother, Jake, deplaned and walked through the airport toward the gate where they would board a chartered helicopter. They'd hired a local pilot who knew how to fly through the volcanic jungle mountains, since landing at Tikal was tricky. "Nice and quiet," Jake said. "For a change." People, normal-looking people in the tourist uniform of shorts, sandals, and t-shirts, sat playing with their mobile phones, walked calmly to their gates, gazed in boredom at the same old duty-free chocolates that seemed to be for sale at every airport. Amy didn't answer. There was nothing to add to Jake's observation other than, "For now," or "We'll see." Besides, she doubted he'd meant the comment for her. He was barely speaking to her, communicating on an as-needed basis. The same went for Dan. Atticus slipped up occasionally and offered her gum or flashed her his sweet smile, but then Dan would glare at At to chastise him for the small betrayal. Amy told herself it didn't matter if they hated her. She wasn't racing around the world to make friends. As the leader of the Cahill family, she had to make hard choices, like leaving Dan, Atticus, and Jake behind when she headed to the Arctic Circle alone. Abandoning the few people she loved had felt like cutting off her own hand, but that didn't matter. She had a job to do. As long as the others didn't get in her way, whether they included her in their jokes and gum sharing was their business. There was a shout from a newsstand, and Amy turned toward it. "There they are! The Paps at 2 o'clock, Dan muttered. A small mob of photographers zeroed in on them, their gear clanking as they ran. Amy couldn't contain an exasperated sigh. Here we go again. It was bad enough that J. Rutherford Pierce sent murderous thugs after Amy and Dan wherever they went. On top of that, he'd ensured that the paparazzi were obsessed with them. Amy and Dan Cahill, the teenage leaders of the richest and most powerful family the world has ever known. The source of their power was a serum that Pierce had managed to steal, enhancing his own power and making him exceedingly dangerous. Amy and Dan were on a desperate mission to find the antidote to that serum, and had come to Guatemala because they suspected the next ingredient they needed, Riven Crystal, whatever that was hidden in the ancient Mayan ruins of Tikal. But it was next to impossible to conduct a covert operation, or even to hide, when reporters publicized your every move. "That way." Jake pointed to a door marked VIP Lounge, manned by a guard. Amy flashed a VIP Travel Club ID at the guard and they ducked inside, but not before one of the photographers spotted them and took some quick shots. The flash cast eerie shadows on the wall in front of her. She couldn't let the photographers follow them to their waiting chopper. If the paparazzi found out where they were headed, that meant Pierce would know, too. "Amy," the photographer called, "using your privilege to avoid the public? What are we, the unwashed hordes?" Amy ignored him and kept running, but the photog pushed past the guard, who couldn't stop a whole mob determined to get around him. Amy, Jake, Dan, and Atticus raced through the lounge, dodging placid passengers sipping drinks. Amy leaped over a side table just as a woman reached for her coffee cup. The woman glared at her and snapped, "Rude children!" The comment bounced off Amy's Teflon shell. The days when Amy cared about good manners were long gone. Her near-fatal trip to Svalbard had iced over what remained of her heart. Being hounded by the press could do that to a person, and being hunted by a powerful, ruthless killer even more. Pierce hardly needed his army to find the Cahills. The press did that job for him. Dan found a door at the back of the lounge and threw it open. "In here!" The others followed him through a staff changing area. They ran past a flight attendant shrugging into his uniform jacket. "Hey, what are you—" No time to hear the rest of that question. They ran